In this video I'm going to briefly explain the 4-camera CCU controller's use of the tally lights associated with each of the 4 CCU positions. Just a quick overview of the setup here. I'm just using a smart scope monitor for viewing the picture as I do CCU waveform over here, and then I've got 2 ATM studio cameras on inputs 1 and 2. I've got just any old other inputs happening on inputs 3 and 4. This is using an ATM 2ME, and I've got just the multi-view up there just so I can keep an eye on things. Basically the way this is set up is that we have camera 1, I'll come back here so you can see it. So when you push the button to preview, it'll preview camera 1 and return to the program output, which I've got programmed to be a default return on the CCU buttons. You can program any of these CCU buttons to either latch or toggle. I've got them all toggle at the moment because that's the way I prefer to work. Toggle means that you push the button down and it'll select the camera. You take your finger off, it'll go back to the preset input for each individual camera position, CCU position. So camera 2, there's camera 2, camera 1, and that's just just a third input pretending to be a camera, and that's the 4th CCU position pretending to be another camera. I've actually got I've programmed these to be on different inputs. I'll show you those in a moment, and I've programmed the tally lights to be on to follow the associated buttons as pressed as well. Now every time you select any one of the 4 camera positions, CCU positions, it actually indicates that's the currently selected CCU position for doing any other adjustments using the menu system up in here. As the cameras always return back to a default input, if you've got it in toggle mode, it'll always remember the last camera you selected regardless of where it's toggled back to. So the blue indicates that that's the last camera we've chosen. It also will indicate up here, if we just come up here and see if we can get a bit of focus there. If I go into any one of the settings, let's go into the gains RGB. I'll turn the right knob for a start. Over here, you see this is in the gains for doing the RGB adjustments. You'll see there's a little number over here, and as you select the camera, it tells you what the current camera is that this will adjust at any one time. So you just to double be sure, you normally just check to see if the blues are the right camera you want to adjust, and then that just helps you determine that's the one you want to do. Just getting onto the tallies, if I come up here, you'll see up here I've got just a random wipe with colour bars and a colour background happening here. But if I go and select, get my cursor over here, if I go and select camera 1, come back here, you'll see now there's a red tally light showing on the position. Now this particular input is programmed to control camera 1, and the tally's programmed to be number 1. So whatever happens to camera 1 as far as being program or preview will indicate on the buttons here. Now if I actually select that camera to adjust, you'll see it actually goes to magenta, which is a combination of the blue and the red being on air tally. If I now go up to, I'll come back here so you can see both. If I go and select, say, camera 2 on the preview row, you'll see, oh sorry, that's actually going to come up as a tally because the white position's halfway through, so it's actually on air. But if I just go over to the full one side, and you'll see now that camera 2, as I've just shown up here, is on preview, and camera 2 is showing here green as preview, and camera 1 is showing magenta because it's the selected camera as well as being on air. If I actually go and select camera 2 as being the selected camera, you'll see it goes cyan. Now that's different to blue for this camera. The little iPhone's trying to make, you see that's blue, that's cyan. So that's indicating that's on preview, but it's also the camera selected for adjust. I can of course go to camera 3 and that's just blue, but it's also showing that camera 1 is on air, Camera 2 is on preview, which normally means it's about to be on air. And camera 3 is the camera that we're currently adjusting. And then there's camera 4. And if we go back to camera 1, it goes magenta, knowing that it's on air. Now if I just move that off there for instance, and if I actually go and do a transition up here, it's only a 1 second transition, you'll see the tally lights will follow the transition. I'll just keep doing that and do a nice little pan in, and you see they're all directly following the tally system that's being generated through the ATM. Now you might also remember, if you saw the Smart Scope video, that the Smart Scope will detect any of the tallies that have been selected on air, that I have selected for these 4 buttons. If any of them are on air or on preview, it will be reflected in that border. So we'll just quickly come back here. If I just put both program and preview on a non-selected source, you'll see that there's nothing on the Smart Scope. But if I actually go and say select camera 1, you'll see the red tally. Camera 2 I've also got allocated. There's a red tally. If I go to camera 3, that's not allocated, and you'll see there's no tally. Camera 4, there's no tally. Camera 5. Now camera 6, I think the one I've got selected on button 3. Yes, there you see button 3 selected, and it's telling you now that you've got one of your cameras is hot. Camera 7 is not selected. Camera 8, there you go, that's the fourth. That's the fourth one. You can see because it's magenta, it's also selected as the adjustable camera. So I'll just go and say select camera 1. And of course the same thing applies if I actually go to a non-source that's been allocated. Nothing shows up anywhere, but if I then go on the preview row, you'll see the green border comes around the Smart Scope, and this has gone magenta because it's selected. Now I go camera 2, you see now camera 2 has gone green. It's like doing an on-screen pointer, isn't it? And so on and so forth. So I go to take up the camera 6, there's that there. Camera 7 is not allocated, camera 8 is allocated. So everything's just absolutely totally configurable. And to show you that configuration, you can set up the cross points for each of these 4 CCU positions, and separately you can set up the tallies associated with those cross points. So if I just show you the menu system here, I'm just going to hit the focus button again, and now I'm going to use the menu button. I'm going to do this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, now you can see I'm just going through the menu. These are all the different menus which I will cover in another video. But if we go to the very end here, enter system setup, you can see these are all the different settings, and as I said, I'll show you all these in a different video. They're all the IP address setups. Now you see these are the cross points, and you can see the 4 CCU positions are set to 2, 3, 7 and 8. They're their inputs. They're the inputs 2, 3, 7 and 8 that I've actually got allocated on the ATM, which if we go and have a look at the aux, you can see, you probably can't see it, there you go. So that's 012. Now these numbers are a little bit messed up, I'll fix that up. But that's the way that works. Incidentally, I didn't actually show you this, but currently I've got the CCU monitoring selector, focus. The CCU monitoring selector button is actually currently set to the ATM aux bus, but I can tell it to control a video hub router, any video hub router at all. So as I'm, say, selecting the I've got to come out of here first. There you go. As I'm selecting any of the cameras up here, you'll see up here, that's there selecting. See, as soon as I take my finger off, it goes back to the default, which is way down there somewhere. So that's what you were seeing before. I forgot to mention that. Anyhow, just back to this. We'll just go back into the setup menu, change hands. Let's go all the way around into setup mode. So in here, they're the cross points, which I'll show you then another thing. I can show you how we set the cross points for each of the 4 CCU positions. And another menu down there, the toggle. So you can either set them for toggle or latch, and that's where you can set the default if they're in toggle. The defaults for when you take your finger off the button, which input it goes to. 38 just happens to be the program output of the ATM. This is where you set which router type you use for your previewing. It can be either the aux bus, or it can be any output of a Blackmagic video hub. I've actually got in here, I don't think I've got it up here, but I've actually got a two different types of video hubs I'm running here, and just if it comes up, I'm just waiting over here on the screen. There it is. There. That's the 72 by 144 broadcast hub. It's controlling that, but it's also got a couple of video hub workgroup video hubs, 12 by 24s, which I use in the mess over there somewhere. I'm not going to focus. The mess over there somewhere. Anyhow, so that's where you can set the router type. Now the other one that I actually was alluding to was here. These are the tallies, and these are where I can set what tally light will go on these buttons here for which button. So basically that's where you set that up. Of course, once you do your settings, you just hit this button down over here, and it just returns us back to we call that the home screen. The home screen is where you can just do the quick adjustments. The other thing that I didn't show you here, let's say if I select camera 1, if I hold my finger on the gain button, it will, I'll come back here, so I hold my finger down, there it is up there. So it's just selecting camera 1, selecting camera 2 as I showed you before. I'm just going to select something active on the there you go, that'll do for the moment. That's program. There you go, here. Yeah, that'll do. That's just my program output, so we're defaulting back to program output. But see there, I've just selected camera 2 as my active camera. Now if any time I want to go and do say adjust the gain on here, I just hold my finger down on the gain. This is in the home screen, hit the focus, hold my finger on the gain button, and you can actually see it, keep my finger the other way, you can see it here. I'm just changing the gain on that particular camera, and it tells me here, over here, it says number 2, because that was the last camera selected. And it's the same for degrees Kelvin and shutter. So I can hold my finger on the. It's really hard to do with one hand, let me tell you. So, like for instance, here I am. I can adjust the shutter, and you can see up there as I'm adjusting it. I need to do a PIP, don't I? Anyhow, so that's. But I'm going to cover all these in different videos. This basically was just trying to show you the usage of these tally lights. And I'm going on holidays for a week, so bye-bye.